Kellyanne Conway joining us right now from the White House. And Kellyanne, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Same to you.
Good morning.
Our number one topic is Michael Flynn, the National Security Advisor to the President of the United States, quit last night after, and that's why we called you in. Why exactly did he decide to quit? Was it that he may have been in violation of the Logan Act in talking to the Russian ambassador, or was it that he misrepresented or lied to the vice president about what he remembered? Why is he gone?
Steve, I would refer you to General Flynn's resignation letter, wherein he addresses that very issue, and it seems to be the latter, which is he was having any number of calls, and that in the end he felt he had misled or misrepresented all the facts to the president and to the vice president, and for that he was enormously and deeply sorry. And that really was the linchpin here, is that he either forgot, couldn't fully recall, or outwardly misled the vice president and others when he was characterizing a conversation he had had with the Russian ambassador. And I think that the situation became increasingly unsustainable, and he decided to resign.
What changed, though? I mean, from when you said he had the president's full confidence, what changed in terms of the facts that made him resign at 11 o'clock, where 3 hours earlier you said he had the president's full confidence?
Well, it wasn't 3 hours earlier, it was many hours earlier. But the fact is that the president is a very loyal person, and he has a team here that serves him very admirably. And in this case, information had been forthcoming for a while, but the situation had gotten to, I think, a fever pitch yesterday, later in the day, such that it became unsustainable. I mean, just yesterday, the National Security Advisor was part of the visit by the bilateral visit by the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He was in the presidential daily briefing. He had been part of leader calls with presidents from around the globe. But in the end, it really was the misleading or the forgetfulness about characterizing that conversation that I think was the linchpin here. And look, I just want to say to everyone that General Flynn has a 3-decade-plus record of service as an intelligence officer, as a military official, that should not be overlooked. In this particular case, there was an incident or so that just became unsustainable for him to carry on in that role, and that was the decision he made, and the president accepted his resignation and is moving on with an acting National Security Advisor, General Keith Kellogg, who worked with the team very well and for a very long time. And then he'll also be entertaining perhaps former Navy SEAL and Vice Admiral Mr. Harward, and also General Petraeus, who's known to everyone.
Right. Did the president try to talk him out of the resignation?
I won't characterize private conversations, Ainsley. I just know that these things are never easy. And I can tell, we all know that Donald Trump is known for his loyalty, and people are known for their loyalty to him. And in this case, it just became a situation that needed to be rectified, and I think that it's General Flynn who made that decision and tendered his resignation.
There are some stories out that Sally Yates, the then acting Attorney General, had alerted the White House that Mr. Flynn might be open to blackmail because of what the conversation was, whatever that was. What's extraordinary to me, and we've known that, and why he acted last night, he did what he did. But what's extraordinary to me is just the fact that there are a number of major U.S. papers that apparently got the leaks from the intel community that said, hey, look, we've got the transcript of what Mr. Flynn said on the phone to the Russian ambassador, and looks kind of shady. Just the fact that there are these leaks inside the permanent government is troubling.
Well, you may be the only outlet talking about that this morning, so thank you for shining a light there. I'll let the public make their own decisions based on what you just said. But it is disturbing. Look, leaks are always disturbing. I think the President of the United States has made that very clear. And leaks, when it has to do with security intelligence information, are that much more concerning, just hypothetically in the main. What I would say in this case is, if you read these reports and then you realize that that in this specific instance, what became unsustainable long-term was just the particular characterization of the contacts between General Flynn and others as he related them to the highest officials in our land. And also, I just wanted to say that in speaking with President Trump this morning, he made reference to me about Charles Krauthammer, your Fox News colleague's comments on your network last night, and wanted me to reference those as well, because it's not a particular contact or incident by itself. It's really the cumulative effect of that leading to incomplete or misleading, forgetful information, frankly, incomplete and misleading information. That really was the key here.
Well, I'll read exactly what he said. He said, "What strikes me is how bizarre the whole story is. This is a cover-up without a crime. The idea that one should be all aghast because the incoming National Security Advisor spoke with the Russian ambassador and spoke about sanctions seems to me to be perfectly reasonable. The idea that was illegal is preposterous." Is that what you were referring to?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And thank you for repeating those remarks. I wish others were doing that today, just because I think that's important here as context, where others are questioning timing and all that. It's very important to note that and to realize that, you know, Vice President Pence went on national TV, as did others in the administration, frankly, based on information that was provided that was either incorrect or incomplete.
Kellyanne,
so the fact that he talked about sanctions with the Russian ambassador did not bother the president, is that correct?
No, I don't want to say that. I don't know that, and it's not for me to say that. It's just the key is how did we get to this point, and where do we go from this point is really what we're focused today on at the White House.
And Kellyanne, there's a story in the New York Times that said that the vice president was angry at Mr. Flynn because he lied to him. Do you think that's accurate description?
Well, I don't like to characterize other people's emotions, but I've worked with Vice President Pence for over a decade, and he is a man who's slow to anger. He's very deliberative individual, obviously brilliant, and serves this country very well as our vice president. And he has, I think his office has publicly said that General Flynn and the vice president had spoken a couple of times, and that General Flynn had apologized to the vice president. And then fast forward, General Flynn ended up resigning, and the president accepted that resignation.
All right. Well, we wish General Flynn all the best. You're right.
Absolutely.
He had 30 years serving our country, and something like this, you just don't want that to taint his reputation after he's sacrificed so much for our country.
I agree completely, Ainsley. We do. And also, we wish the president and the vice president the best as they find a new national security advisor. I think some people are high-fiving themselves today that somehow they got their wish. Folks, this is national security and intelligence, and that means it affects us all.
Yeah.
And so it's just, we need to move on as a country and get that right in the next phases very quickly, and indeed the president will. The president has already discussed options, and he has General Kellogg in there as his acting national security advisor, and will be meeting with his team today to move very swiftly.
Now, is it true that General Petraeus is coming to the White House today?
It's true that General Petraeus has been mentioned as one possible permanent replacement, along with Vice Admiral, former Navy SEAL, Mr. Harward, and of course, acting National Security Advisor, Assistant to the President, General Keith Kellogg.
Is he coming to the White House today?
I haven't looked at today's schedule since last night. I got called to come over here.
You've been kind of busy.
Yeah, I know, and we appreciate it. Also, we understand that Vice Admiral Michelle Howard is also a leading candidate to replace Flynn. Have you heard that?
Well, she certainly has served this country with great distinction, and we'll have to see how the day progresses and what the president decides to do.
When will he make a decision, do you think?
Well, he'll need to take his time in terms of considering who is best for this role. And as you just know, you've mentioned a name. I've mentioned 3 other names. Obviously, he has many great choices, and he'll make that decision on his timeline, as he always does. The one thing about President Trump is we always know who's in charge, his choice, his voice. Ultimately, these decisions rest with him, and we all respect that.
Kellyanne, what about the different messages from you and Sean Spicer? You come out and say the confidence of the president is with Flynn. Spicer comes out a little while later and says, so, essentially we're still deliberating on that. It's still up in the air. What about the difference in messaging there?
Well, they're both true. In other words, the president is a very loyal person. He has confidence that the National Security Advisor, Mike Flynn, was involved in many different briefings and phone calls, and of course the bilateral meeting yesterday with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada. And I think as the night wore on and General Flynn decided that this was no longer sustainable, he tendered his resignation. The president accepted that resignation. Obviously, it was becoming a situation which was untenable. If you're misleading or providing incomplete or inaccurate information to the vice president, then, if not others, then it's an area where course corrections will need to be taken, and General Flynn decided to do that last night. Obviously, the president accepted his resignation.
In the middle of you making Valentine's Day cards with your kids, so when the news broke. Thank you so much, Kellyanne. Happy Valentine's Day to you and
take care. Same to you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Well, there you go.